Well, the third-party fact checkers are at it again. Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and now that Donald Trump's second impeachment has resulted in a second acquittal, well, the fallout from the situation is starting to fall out, this way by way of allegedly doctored evidence. After Donald Trump's acquittal, his attorney, Michael Vanderveen, gave an interview, and the interview can only be described as someone who has had too much. It was a mixture between Danny Glover and that guy from the movie Network. He is mad as hell, and he is not going to take it anymore. And in this blistering interview, I'm going to show you a few highlights of that interview a little later in this vlog, he made reference to allegedly doctored evidence that the impeachment management team presented before the Senate. He made reference to allegedly wrong dates, allegedly modified tweets, and allegedly doctored video evidence that was spliced together and presented in a 13-minute video. I had seen the video montage, so I was sort of familiar with those accusations of having doctored that video by splicing multiple video clips together, sort of creating a narrative, sort of altering a timeline, and I've already talked about this in a previous video where I discussed why attorneys should not be editing together videos to serve as evidence. In my breakdown of the deposition of the man whose name cannot be spoken on YouTube, I explained why it was very dangerous for attorneys to create videos, sort of splicing videos together, editing videos together to serve as evidence, because in doing that, the attorney effectively creates the evidence, and they go from being a lawyer in the file to being a witness in the file. And wouldn't you know it, the Trump impeachment management team, the impeachment team made the exact same mistake during this impeachment trial when they spliced together a 13-minute video montage of the events that took place on and leading up to January 6th. They created a highly edited and highly editorialized video sequence where they took certain video clips out of context, took other clips out of temporal context, and put together a 13-minute montage to paint a narrative and not depict actual evidence. And as impactful as it may have been in stirring the emotions, because that's all that it was about, the question became, was it actually legal, lawful? Did it break any Senate rules by doing what they did? So, being the reasonable person that I am, I went to the internet to see if it did, and I went to the third-party fact checkers to see what they said about this, and don't worry about it, they said no, it didn't break any rules. From Politifact, quote, manipulated video used in House impeachment looks to have violated House rules, end quote. Politifact Truthometer, false. No, House Democrats' impeachment video did not violate U.S. House rules. Phew, thank you for clarifying that, Politifact. I was nervous for a second, but for those of you who have been hanging around my channel for long enough, you know that I oftentimes say that when anyone starts an answer with no followed by an affirmation, you are about to be misled, and this time is no different. If your time is short, the House rule the article points to hasn't been enacted yet. Senate rules, not House rules, govern impeachment proceedings. The proposed rule is primarily meant to address deep fakes or deceptive audiovisual distortions, like splicing together audio to make it appear that someone said something they didn't. The impeachment video, which consists of documentary footage of the Jan 6 riot, contains neither of those things. Very interesting, important, and I would also add convenient examples that they are giving of what would otherwise constitute a violation of the rules, doctoring the audio of an original video. We're going to see why they use that example in particular a little later in this article. But the fact check goes on to explain how Jason Chaffetz questioned whether or not this video that was presented by the impeachment team violated the Senate rules, and this is what the fact check says. Chaffetz said, quote, go to page 34 of House rules. Did the manipulated video violate the House rules, end quote. It reads, we asked 3 experts on congressional procedure whether there was any violation. The answer was a clear no. Quote, I cannot possibly see how the video violates the House rules Chaffetz is pointing to, said Josh Ryan, a professor of political science at Utah State University. The fact check then goes on to cite the relevant section that Chaffetz was referring to, which reads as follows. Dissemination of manipulated media. The Committee on Ethics is directed to report to the House not later than December 31, 2021, any recommended amendments to the Code of Official Conduct as well as any accompanying regulations intended to address the circumstances and instances, if any, for which a member, delegate, resident commissioner, officer, or employee of the House may be subject to discipline for the dissemination by electronic means, including by social media, of any image, video, audio file that has been distorted or manipulated with the intent to mislead the public. End quote. Now, full disclosure, at the outset of making this vlog, I was not prepared to call that video montage a doctored video montage. It is a montage, it is therefore edited and editorialized, but I would not have called it a doctored video montage, except after having read that rule, I am now prepared to agree that that video montage was distorted and manipulated. I believe that there is a strong argument that this video montage was in fact distorted and manipulated such that it would have violated this House rule had this House rule been in effect. But it seems that Politifact got it right in that this House rule was not yet in effect effect, so even if this video would have violated this rule, it doesn't because the rule is not yet in effect, and good for them, I guess it's something of a moral victory. In other words, this text dictates that the House Ethics Committee issue a report to the House by the end of 2021 recommending whether members and employees should be subject to discipline for knowingly distributing deceptively edited media like deep fakes. Sorry, Politifact, a question. Why do you keep throwing in these examples that are not the example at hand? We're not talking about deep fakes. We are talking about this particular video and whether or not it would qualify under these rules. Sure, deep fakes are the most egregious examples of distorted or manipulated media, but there surely are other examples that are more subtle, possibly this video, for example. And another professor had an even more creative explanation for why this would not have violated any rules. The rule is a direction to ethics, not a standard for ethical behavior, said Stephen Smith, a professor of political science at Washington University, St. Louis. Besides that, Donald R. Wolfensberger, a former Republican staff director of the House Rules Committee, cited 3 reasons why the House manager's presentation wouldn't run afoul of any House rule. The first reason, House rules do not extend to the Senate chamber, which is governed by Senate rules, Wolfensberger said. Reason number 2, even if the rule were already in effect and applied to the House impeachment managers on the Senate floor, the burden of proving a violation would be steep. In particular, the Ethics Committee would have to determine that there was, quote, intent to mislead, end quote, in the compilation, a tall order when all of the footage was undoctored video relevant to the proceeding. And reason number 3, in the case of this impeachment, House managers are charged with presenting evidence at the Senate trial in support of the article of impeachment adopted by the House. This is the paradigm example of trying to nail an egg to the wall. He didn't do it, but if he did, there was a good reason, and if there wasn't a good reason, you can't prove it even if he did. The impugned video didn't break any rules because the rules aren't in effect, but even if the rules were in effect, they don't extend to the Senate chamber, but even if they applied to the Senate chamber, it would be a very difficult burden of proof to meet, and even if they met that burden of proof, the team has the obligation to present all of the evidence in support of the impeachment. Try to say that 5 times in a row. And this is where the fact check gets super duper sneaky, and you will recall the example they gave at the beginning of this fact check relating to the audio that was altered in a video. Congressional representatives have been warned about spreading manipulated media before. On Jan 28, 2020, House Ethics Committee Chairman Ted Deutsch sent out an advisory memo reminding representatives that, quote, posting deep fakes or other audio-visual distortions intended to mislead the public may be in violation of the Code of Official Conduct. The memo was sent out 3 weeks after Rep. Paul Gozer posted an image of former President Barack Obama doctored to show him shaking hands with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. The issue flared up again in August 2020 when Rep. Steve Scalise tweeted out a video that used manipulated footage of activist Adi Barkan to falsely accuse former Vice President Joe Biden of wanting to defund the police. There is a difference between Scalise's video, which was digitally altered to distort a person's words, and the House Democrats' impeachment video, which edited together documentary footage into a narrative. First things first, with respect to Steve Scalise's tweet, I actually tweeted out at the time because Adi Barkan was asking Steve Scalise to remove the tweet from the internet because it falsely attributed words to Adi Barkan, to which I said, why would you want to take down the evidence if indeed they did manipulate video? You want to leave it on the internet for everyone to see. Adi Barkan, Steve Scalise, these are not my words. I have lost my ability to speak, but not my agency or my thoughts. You and your team have doctored my words for your own political gain. Please remove this video immediately. You owe the entire disability community an apology. To which I responded as follows. This is where censorship is in fact counterproductive. If the video was indeed altered and the words in the video not those that were spoken, which seems to be the case, you should want to preserve the evidence for all to see. Forcing its removal just disappears the wrongful act. In response to my tweet, in an attempt to sort of explain away the doctoring of the video on the basis that it didn't change the substance of the video, so therefore it's somehow justifiable, someone else tweeted the following, and I've blocked out their name because I'm not trying to put them on blast. I just want to read their tweet and my response. Video simply put the statement in context. Earlier in the video, Adi only mentioned removing or redirecting funding from the police. When he asked Biden about redirecting the funds again, he simply shortened the statement regarding defunding the police. Not that difficult, Frei. To which I responded as follows. I appreciate that argument, but one should, without exception, never alter, doctor an original source. Ever. Even if they think they are just clarifying. Now let's go to Politifact's ruling and see what it says and what it conveniently doesn't say. Our ruling. Star Political News wrote, quote, manipulated video used in House impeachment looks to have violated House rules, end quote. The rule the article points to has not actually been enacted yet. House rules do not extend to the Senate chamber where the trial is happening. The Senate is governed by Senate rules. Even if such a rule had been enacted, the video does not appear to violate it. The video consists of documentary footage edited into a single narrative. It does not contain audio, visual distortions, or spliced together words to make someone say something they didn't say. This is false. So I think we can probably all agree that by Politifact's own very narrow definition here, this video, although highly editorialized and potentially misleading, was not a manipulated video. Okay.
What about the tweet?
The most shocking thing about this Politifact fact check is not what it says and what it addresses, it's what it doesn't say and what it doesn't address. What about the tweet that had a blue checkmark added to it? By Politifact's own fact check, that altered tweet would be a very big problem, so instead of addressing it, they just ignore it entirely, only to focus on the one element that allows them to say that this fact check is false. These are no longer fact checkers. I'm not sure if they ever were bona fide fact checkers. They have become pure propagandists, and they are doing a disservice to everyone. And for those of you who may not know what other accusations were flying about other altered evidence, let me just play you some highlights from a blistering interview Michael van der Veen gave after Trump's acquittal.
What happened at the Capitol on January 6th is absolutely horrific. But what happened at the Capitol during this trial was not too far away from that. The prosecutors in this case doctored evidence. They did not investigate this case, and when they had to come to the court of the Senate to put their case on, because they hadn't done any investigation, they doctored evidence. It was absolutely shocking. I think when we discovered it and we were able to expose it and put it out, I think it turned a lot of senators. The American people should not be putting up with this. They need to look at who these House managers were and look to see whether these are the folks they want representing them. It was shocking to me.
Let's follow up with a point that you're making right now about the House managers, as you say, doctoring evidence, and the argument.
They didn't deny it.
Viewers.
They didn't deny it. I put it in front of them 3 times.
To be clear for our viewers, what you're talking about now is a check mark. That's a verification on Twitter that did not exist on that particular tweet. A 2020 that should have actually read 2021, and the selective editing, you say, of the tapes. Is that the doctored evidence of what you're speaking?
That's not enough for you?
Other than being perhaps one of the most blistering interviews ever given by a man who is clearly mad as hell and not going to take it anymore, we are now talking about 2 other pieces of evidence that were allegedly modified. Apparently, in the impeachment management team's presentation, there was something of a typo in one of the dates indicating that something had happened in 2020 when it in fact happened in 2021. I don't want to focus on that as much because I can sort of understand how typos happen. What I can't understand is how blue check marks get added to tweets that did not have a blue check mark in them. In their presentation, the Trump impeachment management team presented 2 tweets from one Jennifer Lynn Lawrence, which I'm going to read to you in a second, but you'll notice that they have a nice blue check mark on those tweets. Jennifer Lynn Lawrence: "We have been marching all around the country for you, Mr. President. Now we will bring it to D.C. on Jan 6 and proudly stand beside you. Thank you for fighting for us." In the next tweet: "Best day ever. Thank you @RealDonaldTrump for the retweet. It has been an honor to stand up and fight for you and our nation. We will be standing strong on Jan 6 in DC with you. We are bringing the cavalry, Mr. President." Now, the first and lesser of the problems is that the Trump impeachment team, in presenting this email, misread it as cavalry, as if to suggest that they were going to bring horsemen down to DC. Trump had so incited an insurrection that people were going to get on horses and come down to storm the Capitol. Except that is not what the tweet said. The tweet said cavalry, which is a religious term, and because I can't remember exactly what it means right now, I'm just going to flash a definition right now. But misreading the tweet is an innocent mistake, and I've got to say I made the same mistake myself when reading that tweet. What is not such an innocent mistake is magically adding a blue checkmark to the Twitter person. And she responded as much. Jennifer Lynn Lawrence: "I've never been verified on Twitter, so why did my tweet used in the fact-free impeachment include a verification badge? I'm assuming Democrats faked it like they are faking the whole case. Rep Swalwell, why did you add a verified badge to my tweet in your presentation?" All right, Rep Swalwell has recently made the news for apparently having an inappropriate relationship with someone who turned out to be a Chinese spy, but others of you might remember Eric Swalwell for being the guy who farted on national television.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
And what was the explanation for how this non-verified Twitter user magically had a blue check mark on the tweet that they presented before the Senate? Quote, "The final graphic accidentally had a blue verification check mark on it, but the substance of it was entirely accurate. So what is Trump's attorney's point? If anything, it is further evidence of President Trump's attention to and knowledge of what was being openly planned on Jan 6 by his followers, even those without Twitter verifications," end quote. The aide continued. Furthermore, in self-evident context, it is simply not believable that President Trump recognized the frequently confused cavalry as anything besides cavalry is coming, end quote. The final graphic accidentally had a blue check mark on it. Notice the deceptive language being used here. It is passive language. Nobody did anything. Things just happened. The graphic accidentally had a blue check mark on it. It's not the case that someone on the impeachment team actually went to Google to look up the blue checkmark logo to manually insert it into a tweet that did not have it. It wasn't deliberate, calculated, methodical conduct. It was something that accidentally happened. Cavalry plop. That's what that is. Cavalry plop. But alas, I do not expect a Politifact update or a Politifact fact check on whether or not this tweet in fact constitutes a manipulated tweet. Because as we already know by Politifact's own standards, the Democrats in fact manipulated evidence. And as far as this is concerned, just to read another undumb thing I think I said on Twitter. Who on the impeachment management team is susceptible of impeachment? Because I'm pretty sure doctoring evidence and falsifying documents qualifies as, quote, high crimes and misdemeanors. And because there is no point wasting time trying to say something that cannot be said better than someone who already said it, I'm just going to leave you with some words from Michael Vanderveen as to how he feels about this entire situation.
That's not enough for you? That's not enough for you? Wait. No,
sir,
no.
I'm trying.
Listen,
I'm not a juror in this trial. What I'm trying to be clear for our viewers is what you're referring to, because not everybody has been following.
It's not okay.
Not everybody,
to doctor
sir,
a little bit of evidence.
Respectfully. I have not said it is. I have not said it is okay.
Ma'am, your question is
I want to be clear for our viewers.
Listen, what has to happen is
I want to be clear for our viewers about what exactly you're saying when you say doctored evidence.
The media has to start telling the right story in this country. The media is trying to divide this country. You are bloodthirsty for ratings, and as such, you're asking questions now that are already set up with a fact pattern. I can't believe you would ask me a question indicating that it's all right just to doctor a little bit of evidence. There's more stuff that we uncovered that they doctored, to be frank with you, and perhaps that will come out one day.
And with that said, if you like my videos and you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comment section below because it feeds the algorithm.
Feed me all night long.
If you want to support the channel, all of the support links are in the pinned comment. Be sure to follow my other channel, Viva Family, just in case something happens to this channel. That will be my outlet for the world. I am also on Rumble, Robert Barnes, and I have a page on Locals. It is called vivabarneslaw.locals.com. But more important than any of that, take care of yourselves, check in on friends and family, make sure everyone around you is doing well, and now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah.